National Senator Matt Canavan. Matt, good to see you. How does the LNP lose a seat to the Greens in Queensland?
Well, we are seeing a lot of demographic changes in these areas, Laura, but up front I would say the LNP has done remarkably well, all things considered. We still hold 2/3 of the seats, just over 2/3 of the seats here in Queensland, despite losing government. Normally when someone gets tossed out of government, Queensland swings with it, and the regions and the suburbs do so. We haven't lost a single seat in suburban Brisbane or regional Queensland, and that puts us in a very strong position to fight back at the next election. But yes, look, in those inner city seats, it's been harder. The seat of Brisbane does change and has changed for decades between different parties. That's always close, and in the seat of Ryan, there's a lot more younger people, a lot more dense housing, so that seat is changing. I mean, ultimately, what we've got to do is represent the people that are going to support a coalition government, a Liberal National government. As I say, we've done okay on that. We've certainly won a vast majority of seats here in Queensland. We need to, of course, do that in other states as well to form government again.
Yeah, okay, so you acknowledge the demographics are changing and you look at other states. So what is your responsibility then to try and be all things to all people in those seats?
Well, look, my view is Queenslanders aren't mutants. We're not from another planet. You're a little bit different, perhaps, from time to time, but I don't think we're that much different from the rest of the country.
We love Queenslanders.
And maybe, I mean, the pressure all, you love them, yeah, of course you do. Everyone loves to come here too, and they're all coming here, they're all moving here. You know, there seems to be this sort of remarkable response here that the pressure is on the LNP to become like everybody else, when, as I said, the LNP did very well in Queensland. So
that said, Matt, sorry to interrupt you. I hate interrupting you, but okay, if the LNP did so well, the Nationals didn't lose one seat, you had retirements, you even picked up an extra Senate spot. Shouldn't the Nationals leader then perhaps be opposition leader?
Well, we don't have enough seats though, Laura. I mean, that's a bit of an absurd suggestion because
I thought you'd jump all
the
over that.
opposition leader should be the party. I'd love to. We are. That's the situation in WA, but I don't think we want to get to the situation WA's in. The opposition leader should logically be from the leader of the party with the most seats, and that remains the Liberal Party by a fair margin. And hopefully they'll get back and grow them. But as I was saying, the same deal with the Nationals Party here, that there seems to be this unusual response that the parties, like the LNP and the Nationals, that did very well. CLP did well up in Territory too, nearly won Lingiari. That's a tough seat. Those parties that did well, they're the ones that everyone's screaming at and yelling at to change. And it's like, well, maybe others should take a leaf with all respect out of what we're doing. And I would argue that up here in Queensland we have people like Peter Dutton and others who are strong Conservative voices that rally our troops and make sure we get to a coalition that can win. A small C coalition, if you like. You've got to put together a coalition of voters to win. And I do think one of the problems we've had in the past few years is that we did go left, we didn't go right. All this rubbish out there saying we were right. We signed up to net zero, we spent a lot of money, we ignored really budget discipline, and we've been punished for it because our supporters and our voters want to support a party that believes in small government. And if we want a bigger coalition party room, we have to fight and defend for smaller government.
So where is the evidence that you've been punished for net zero?
Well, in my view, right across the country, Laura. I mean, we've lost seats to Labor. We didn't lose government by losing seats to the Teals. That's not why we lost government. We lost government because we lost seats to the Labor Party. And in my view, by signing up to net zero, we...
And the Teals.
Sorry?
And the Teals. I mean, you're talking 5 seats.
Well, as I say, just do the maths. Here, we didn't lose government because of the Teals. We lost... I mean, as Tom was outlining there just before I got on, the Labor Party...
Wasn't it a mixture? Teals, Greens and Labor?
No. Well, sorry, just step through. Well, maybe I need to step through this a bit slowly, but Labor's going to get to a majority of seats by winning seats off us, not us losing seats to the Teals. That's why they're forming government. That's why we've lost government.
And
to win government back, we've got to win seats off Labor now.
So you're saying forget those seats. Don't even try and win those seats back.
Well, no, I'm not saying forget them, Laura. But let's just if you let me speak. I mean, I'm not saying forget them. What I am saying though is that we should never and not produce a platform centred on inner city seats. I mean, by definition, these seats are the high wealth, high net worth seats. So they're only a few % of the country. The demographics of these seats are quite unique.
And
so if you were to centre your political gravity, can I finish? If you were to centre your political gravity around a seats that represent a few % of the people, you're not going to be successful in a democracy. We need to be centring our political platform about the concerns and issues of those in suburbs and regions. And at this election, Laura, the top concern was cost of living, not climate change. It was a different seat. It was cost of living. But we failed to prosecute that argument because we'd signed up to net zero. We couldn't really point out the costs of crazy radical environmental action like we had in other elections. And the science is clear. When we did do that in 2019 and in 2010 and 2013, we won big victories. When we fail to do that, and like in 2016 and this last election, we lose seats and this time lost government.
But you need to fight the next election in 2025, not in 1996, don't you?
Well, Laura, I'm talking about 2019, not 1996. I mean, that was 3 years ago. And as I said, the biggest issue at this election was cost of living. Now, we're talking a lot of political commentary here. My view is that the best way for us to be in a competitive position is to form a good policy platform that is consistent with our values and principles. It's not to try and be opportunistic and follow focus groups. That's another thing we did wrong in the last few years. But it's to get back to our basics and principles about smaller government, about support for the family, about strong national defence, strong national development. Those are the things that are going to make us a successful party. Now, in terms of what might happen over the next few years into 2025, look, my prediction, Laura, for what it's worth, is cost of living isn't going away anytime soon. It is probably only going to grow as an issue. And so, again, that makes it very important that I think we focus on the bread and butter concerns of average families around this country who are already struggling to pay their bills. And that's before we see significant increase in interest rates and probably more inflation imported from overseas.
OK, before I let you go, Barnaby Joyce, should he stay as leader?
Well, I believe politics is a outcomes-based sport, like sport. You're judged on your outcomes, you win games, you lift the trophy, you succeed. And in this case, Barnaby did his job and won all the seats. And this is an argument I've been consistent about. There was some scuttlebutt after the last election that somehow there could be a challenge to Michael McCormack. And I said exactly the same thing as I'm saying now, that Michael had been a leader while we've won all our seats and he should remain leader. And likewise, the same, I think, rule applies here.
Matt Canavan, good to talk to you. See you soon.